How's it going, everyone? Today we got a story of this psycho girl who ends up poisoning the entire school out of revenge. This is probably one of the most interesting stories I've received in a while, so yeah, let's just jump into it. We're going to call the subscriber who submitted this story Clay. So anyways, Clay was in high school, and in Clay's high school, there's this girl who we're just going to call the psycho girl, because she is okay, look. It's not good to call people names, but if they poison the entire school, I'm pretty sure, that's the exception. That's the exception to the rule, so we're just gonna call her Psycho Girl. So Psycho Girl was kind of like I don't want to give like the stereotype of didn't have any friends because freshman year of high school, I really didn't have any friends and I wasn't about to poison the entire school. But yeah, I'm just going to describe it how it was told to me. This girl was kind of known as kind of being kept to herself, kind of quiet, didn't really talk with other people. And I can relate to that. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. But also for that reason, people didn't really know her. And this all started to go downhill one day when, Clay was in class. And this happened in, let's say, Clay's math class. Doesn't really matter what class it was, but let's say it's math class. Clay was sitting there. He was with his friends, and all of a sudden, this group of girls walk in, and this group of girls go to Clay's school, and they're kind of known as, the popular girls. I don't know if you guys ever saw the movie Mean Girls, but pretty much it was like those people, kind of like that level of, pettiness and unnecessarily being cruel to people. But anyways, those girls walk into the classroom, and the group of mean girls, they, go up to the one weird girl or whatever. And the thing is, okay, not the weird girl, the psycho girl. I have it differently in my notes. I'm sorry, right? The girl who doesn't speak that much, is just sitting there minding her own business. And for the beginning of the story, I'm actually kind of rooting for the girl who doesn't talk that much because she gets pretty bad treatment here. However, you'll see in a second that you probably not the hero throughout the entire story. But anyways, the girl who doesn't talk that much is sitting there, and the group of mean girls walks up to her, and they basically just start picking on her for no good reason. I mean, maybe you could say that this is just to assert their dominance, like they're a bunch of wolves in the wild or something. Who even knows at this point? But anyways, right, they go up to her and they basically, at least what Clay remembers, is that they were making fun of her outfit. They were making fun of her. They're making fun of the way she talks, making fun of the way that she didn't have any friends. Clay doesn't remember anything specific, but if you can just imagine all those type of things. And it was really weird because it's not like that, the quiet girl or the psycho girl or whatever was making fun of them first, or I don't know, dropped a drink into their lap or something to make them go off like that. For some reason, they just decided that they needed to go off like that. And also it was kind of public. It was kind of like a public spectacle too, because it wasn't just they pulled her aside and started lambasting her. It was in front of everybody. This is going on during the class. This was right before the teacher walked in too, so the teacher wasn't able to intervene or whatever. But after about a good solid minute of just basically just taking a massive dump on this girl, right, in front of everyone, they decide to sit down. They walk away, they sit down, and Clay is just dang, that's crazy, because they went in really hard, apparently. They were going in really intense. And it everyone else kind of noticed what was going on. They didn't say anything, but probably everyone else had the same idea of wow, those girls are mean for no good reason, man. And yeah, we're just going to call those group of girls the mean girl group. So the mean girl group, it's going to be a tongue twister, they went around and they sat down where they were. And Clay turned to one of his friends. He's like, damn, you hear that? His friend's like, yeah, that's crazy. I know those group of girls I knew that they were pretty cruel, but this is a whole new level. I feel bad for that quiet girl over there. And, the psycho girl / quiet girl, who's kind of just known as the quiet girl now, was just kind of sitting there, kind of just going back to what she was doing before as if she was unfazed. It turns out that she was very much not, that being unfazed was very much not what she was doing. Yeah, so little did Clay know that she was actually plotting out her revenge. But anyways, Clay and his friend were sitting there, and they're like, all right, well, that's not very cool. They knew that these mean girls they were kind of jerks in the first place, but this was almost a whole new level of, just not really good people activities. But anyways, let's fast forward to the infamous day, which was the next day. It only took 24 hours for the whole situation to get a lot worse. So anyways, Clay and his friends were sitting there for lunch, and I forgot exactly what I was told that they had, but let's just say it was, I don't know. Let's just say it was like chili or something. Something that'd be very easy to slip something into that would not leave your stomach feeling so good, right? Something very easy like that. So after lunch, Clay and his friends are all sitting in class, and Clay starts feeling, some, weird feelings in his stomach. Like it's making a lot of noise. He's thinking to himself, all right, well, this chili didn't sit well with me. But then again, Clay, like you kind of played yourself. You're out here eating cafeteria chili. Like you are definitely playing yourself right now. You hate to see it, but he starts to feel worse and worse and worse. And he's like, oh God, I'm actually like really sick right now. Like I'm actually feeling really queasy. And he turns over to his friend. And his friend, sometimes you can't tell if someone's feeling pretty gross or not feeling that good, but his friend was like pale and sweating. And yeah, that was not his friend was like definitely kind of pale, but like this was like a whole new level of pale. And his friend didn't sweat normal. You could just tell that he was not feeling good. So Clay kind of like leans over and whispers like, dude, is the chili not sitting well with you either? And his friend can't even like speak. He just looks at him with this like sickly expression and kind of just nods his head. And Clay's like, well, okay, like I'm not feeling good. I got to go to the bathroom, right? So he raises his hand. And as he raises his hand, like two other kids raise their hand. And as slowly, like Clay starts looking around, hands just start to raise. And he's looking around and he can't really see expressions of people that well. But people's expressions were definitely, the few that he did that were close enough, they were not looking very happy. They were not looking very healthy. They were looking pretty sickly. Like, at this point, Clay was like, okay, the chili really got to all of us. There was definitely something messed up with it. And the teacher kind of looks a little bit startled because all of a sudden, like, half the kids in her class, like, raise their hands. So she's kind of just like, what's going on? So she's like, what's going on here, class? And one of the kids just immediately says, like, hey, Miss Baker, I don't feel that good. And Miss Baker's like, okay, what about everyone else? And another kid says, I also don't feel so good. And then she kind of looks around. She's like, is that true for everyone? And everyone except, including all the mean girls in the back, they're struggling to keep it down. That would look terrible for their look. And, this high school matters so much. But, for them at least. But anyways, the one person who was not looking like they were about to pass away was the quiet girl. Now will be known as the psycho girl. Because up until this point, I understand if you've been rooting for the quiet girl. Because, I was like that freshman year of high school. I didn't have that many friends. Eventually, right, I found my people. And I'm very grateful for that. But I can relate. I don't talk that much all the time. However, this is where I stop rooting for her because you can't poison the entire school. Anyways, everyone's feeling really gross. Everyone's not feeling that good. And that's when the quiet girl decides to be a little bit less quiet. And this almost seems out of character, almost like a villain movie. But sometimes people just snap. So anyways, the quiet girl stands up and walks to the front of the class. And Miss Baker's like, Sydney, we'll just call her Sydney. Sydney, is everything okay? Like, why are you coming up here? And she walks up to the front of the class, and she turns to face everyone. And she starts going on this monologue. And this is when Clay realizes that there's a connection between, Sydney and why everyone feels like absolute butt right now. Because Sydney starts going on this monologue of how everybody, which isn't true, but for some of them it's very true, that everybody has been treating her terribly. That everybody, makes fun of her, that she does nothing wrong, which, past tense, because after this, that's no longer true, but she's done nothing wrong. She just sits there. She's just trying to make it through high school. And that, they got what they deserved. And, Miss, I forgot the teacher's name. We'll say Miss Anderson. Sorry, I know, I just forgot. Miss Anderson was like, Sydney, what are you talking about? And Sydney, the quiet girl, a.k.a. the psycho girl, looks at Miss Anderson and it's like, Miss Anderson, you don't actually believe that everyone feeling sick at the same time is like a coincidence, especially after I just came up here and told everyone that they got what they deserved for treating me terribly. And that's when in Clay's head, he was like, yo, it's, because at this point, Clay didn't believe it, because it's like, you're not going to believe that someone tried to poison you or make you feel sick, or I don't think it was legitimate poison, lethal poison. It was something that would make everyone feel sick, right? At this point, Clay was like, there's no way, dude. There's no freaking way. Like, there's absolutely no way that this is actually happening. And Sydney is, like, looking at the teacher, and Miss Anderson is just kind of looking back at her. Miss Anderson's like, Sydney, I don't know what you're trying to say. Like, you got to be more clear. And Sydney looks at her with this kind of look of, like disappointment and annoyance because, like, I don't know. So then Sydney spells it out and is like, Miss Anderson, since you can't figure it out, I'll spell it out for you. She's like, at this point, she's like, I think she realizes that she's already turned herself in, so might as well just go full on in, right? And she's like, I slipped something into the chili, right? That made everyone feel sick because it was necessary for them to be punished for their actions. And everyone, like, some people gasp a little bit. Immediately, there's a buzz of talk that ensues between everyone. And, at this point, Clay is like, oh, my God. And the thing is, it's okay. First of all, even if, like, Sydney was able to only slip the stuff into, like, the gross feeling stuff into the mean girls' food and, like, anyone else who, like, was mean to her, don't do that. Like, that's really bad and illegal, by the way. Just, okay, disclaimer, just in case it isn't blatantly obvious, I'm not endorsing what Sydney did to anyone. And if you're having trouble with people, deal with it like an adult, okay? Don't do this. It's okay. I think you guys are capable and you understand. I just have to put that in there so no one can be like, my son watched your video and he thinks that anything is on the internet is real. Ugh. And then I have to, like, mom's emails, whatever, right? Just be a good person. Anyways, back to the story for a second. Yeah, so Clay's sitting there and everyone there is just kind of like, oh my God. And what I was trying to say is, like, it's even more unfair because it wouldn't be fair if Sydney was to poison anyone, but the fact that she also got everyone in the class and everyone in the school, by the way, which I guarantee you that not everyone in the school was, like, mean to her or whatever. And I mean, it's the same with, like, Clay, because Clay has been nothing but nice to her, and Clay, like, is kind of mad at this point, so he raises his hand and he starts speaking. He's like, Sydney, like, I've been nothing but nice to you, and you basically poisoned me as well. And she looks at him, she's like, necessary sacrifice. I had to get the people, and I couldn't be precise. And Clay's like, I don't think you're the hero you think you are here. And Sydney's like, I don't think I'm a hero. I don't think I'm a villain. And Clay's like, well, I actually think you are the villain here. Like, I'm sorry that these girls were mean to you. And he actually points, like, the mean girls, like, what they did yesterday was unacceptable. I'm sure that wasn't the first time. But you can't do this to people. And the teacher starts to, like, was kind of in, like, a bit of, like, shocked daze for, like, the last 5 minutes of just what is going on. Eventually, the teacher snaps out of it, realizes what is going on, is like stands up very quickly. He's like, Sydney, like, you need to come with me at this moment. And Sydney, kind of accepting her fate at this point, doesn't put up a fight, doesn't put up a struggle, and just walks to the front office. So basically the stories go, because Sydney's never seen from again, at least at that school. So the stories go that, like, Sydney was going to get in a ton of trouble and that they kind of just worked it out that she was just going to transfer schools at this point because there really was no place she could have been here. Like, it just would not have made sense for her to stay at the school anymore. And, so none of the kids saw from Sydney ever again. They didn't really follow her on, like, Instagram or something so they could keep up with her. But yeah, Sydney was basically expelled. I don't know if she's officially expelled or just they were in agreement that Sydney shouldn't be at the school anymore. But yeah, Clay never saw from Sydney ever again. The next story is pretty crazy too. It's about a TikTok kid who tries to fight the subscriber. This one's pretty funny and crazy, so I'm sure you'll want to stick around for it. Anyways, we're going to call the subscriber who submitted the story Ben. It's been a second since we made that the main character. But anyways, right, so Ben was in school, and this was when TikTok was becoming pretty big back in, like, 2019, early 2020. Let's just say, like, 2019 time. And so anyways, it was becoming, like, a lot of people wanted to be, like, blowing up on TikTok. Everyone wanted that TikTok fame. And especially in the very beginning, it was a lot easier to just blow up and get a lot of followers. And so, yeah, there was a bunch of kids in Ben's class who were, like, posting TikToks all the time, trying to get famous. Like, every once in a while, they'd have one that, like, blew up and got a couple 100,000 views. They'd snag, like, a couple 100 followers. And, and I mean, no one really became, like, Bryce Hall, Jacob Sartorius type, like, internet famous from, like, TikToks and stuff. However, like, that didn't stop them from trying. So anyways, there's this one kid who we're going to call TikTok Kid. And TikTok Kid one day was filming a TikTok in the school hallway, which, I mean, I don't know how you film something there and not expect someone to walk in and maybe interrupt it. But anyways, Ben was just walking the school hallway. And he wasn't really super paying attention either. He was kind of a little bit looking at his phone, a little bit spaced out, a little bit all of that, right? So he was just kind of like walking down the hallway. And that's when, the TikTok kid is recording a TikTok, but he has his phone like set to record by itself. So it's like put somewhere else and he's like doing a dance or whatever. And sure enough, Ben, who isn't paying attention, walks in front of the camera, kind of like in the, when someone's like recording themselves and someone walks in front of it, especially like in the gym or whatever, you probably have to go back and like re-record it or something. First of all, that's not that big of a deal. Second of all, like you can't really get mad at someone for just walking in a place that is equally theirs as it is yours. Well, it's actually equally none of theirs because it's like school property, but you know what I mean. But sure enough, the TikTok kid, he's like, hey, you there. And that's enough to get like Ben's attention. He looks up because remember, Ben just walked through the TikTok kid's like dance camera thing or whatever. So, oh my God, like, oh no. And the TikTok kid's actually getting really salty about this. He's actually pretty big mad. And the TikTok kid's like, you want to fight, bro? Is that what you're trying to do? And Ben is just so dazed and confused at this point. He's just kind of looks up. He's like, what? And the kid's like, yeah, you want to fight, dude? I mean, do you want to fight? Is that what you're trying to do here? And at this point, Ben is just like, no. He's like, oh, so you're chicken then. And Ben's like, I just don't know why you want to fight me. And the kid's like, tread lightly, bro. Watch your back. And he like picks up his phone and he walks away, which I just think it's super funny that someone who's trying to do like the renegade dance is also trying to be super tough and edgy or whatever, but whatever. But the next day comes around and Ben, like, he tells his friend about what happened because he thought it was really funny and he doesn't totally know the whole context, but he's like, this is hilarious. But other than that, Ben doesn't really think much of it. So anyways, the day is coming to a close. Ben has his backpack and he's, going to the front to either get on the bus or get picked up by his mom or something like that, right? And that's when he's stopped by the TikTok kid. And the TikTok kid's like, bro, don't you think that I'm just going to let you get away with the disrespect that happened yesterday? And at this point, Ben looks at him. Because the thing is, right, Ben is smart enough not to get in a fight. But it's also a little bit ironic because the TikTok kid is like, he's like significantly smaller than Ben. One, because Ben's like, he's on the football team. He's a bigger guy. He goes to the gym. He definitely would not lose in a fight unless this kid was like highly trained in like, I don't know, jiu-jitsu or some kind of martial arts or something. But this is clearly not the case. This guy is definitely built more like me in high school, which AKA would not win in a fight. But yeah, so this kid is like talking a lot of game and he definitely is not holding it up. But Ben at this point is just kind of low-key kind of curious. He's like, well, can you tell me what the quote-unquote disrespect was? Because I genuinely don't know what it was. And he's like, fine then. So yesterday, I was filming this TikTok. And it was so clear. It was so clear, dude. Like, I was very clearly doing my little dance. Okay, I don't think he said doing my little dance. I think he was still trying to be like all tough about it. You can really only be so tough when what you're doing is filming a TikTok. Like, it's fine to do that, like have fun, live your life, but also realize that you can't simultaneously be filming like the TikTok renegade dance and then also be like, I'm super tough, dude, don't mess with me. There's a lot of TikTok guys right now that are like trying to do that very weird combination of like, you want to pull up on me? Renegade. It's so awful. Just stick to one, please. Don't do both poorly, stick to one. Anyways, at this point, Ben's kind of like looking at him, smiling a little bit because he's like, this got to be a troll. Like, no way this is legit. And the kid's like, all right, bro, like, I see that little smirk on your face. I see the disrespect. I'm not going to let that slide. And Ben looks at him because in Ben's head, he's like, how's he not going to let that slide? And also, let what slide? The fact that he had to redo his renegade dance that took him 10 seconds to do? Oh, no, dude, like, that's the worst. That's crazy. And the kid, Ben, instead of like, I think the TikTok kid thought that he was going to be like intimidating to Ben or something because he just kind of looks at Ben and, the Ben just looks right back at him and Ben doesn't move. And he kind of has this he's not like in a fighting stance, but he has kind of a firm posture. And it's very clear that Ben's not about to back down because there's literally no reason to. So the TikTok kid and Ben kind of have this stare off for, I don't know, a good like 30 seconds. It felt like an eternity, but like a good 30 seconds or whatever. By the way, if you want to submit your own stories, which these were submitted, do so to either my Twitter or Instagram DMs. Make sure you're following me before you DM me, because I like that better. I like big numbers, especially on my Twitter since that one's much smaller. Anyways, though, they have this stare off, and yeah, nothing happens. Ben just keeps staring, and the TikTok kid, realizing that his intimidation tactics of staring at him and flexing his quote-unquote muscles right is probably not going to work. So at this point, he realizes, okay, yeah, if I actually try to get in a fight with this kid, I would 110% lose. Like, there's not a shot in the world that I'd win at this. So he's like, you know what, bro? I'm gonna give you a pass on this one. I'm gonna let this slide. I'm gonna let it slide, bro. I'm gonna let this one slide. You're lucky, man. You're lucky. And he turns away and walks away. And Ben is just looking at him. He's like, you're gonna let this slide? I think I let this slide, but whatever, man. Oh, I'm so lucky. Oh no, TikTok guy who weighs 10 pounds is gonna beat me up. Like 6'2", 210 football player. Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, of course. Yeah, like you're gonna like renegade dance on me, man. Like that actually, I might die from the cringe, but other than that, I'm not gonna be affected. Like that's crazy. So yeah, Ben went back home and he told his friends about it because it's pretty funny. Moral of the story is, if you're gonna do TikToks, that's totally fine, and I do what you want to do, right? But also don't play the tough guy persona while you're making your renegade TikToks, because it probably won't work. If you enjoyed this, leave a like in the video, and if you want to support the channel, watch another video. It helps even more than you can ever imagine.
Click on the video on screen right now. I know you'll enjoy it. Just click it, do it.